linchpin of the offense, they better act like it. And I got to tell you, from what I heard from Joe Thomas yesterday, I'd be a little bit concerned if I was Johnny Manziel, because he talked about how the launch point of the quarterback should not matter, and that the blocking scheme does not change regardless of who the quarterback is. However, once the quarterback takes off, he's kind of on his own, because that's when you get holding penalties, and that's when you get clips and chop blocks. He's like, once that pocket breaks and that quarterback goes outside, he's kind of on his own. And I thought to myself, well, that doesn't sound very good.
No.
Because you're the guy charged with blocking his blind side. You're gonna pull the old Olay move and let the pass rusher right past him. That doesn't end well on 101% of the time. So you better figure it out. You better figure it out fast. Either you grab number 2 by the face mask on the sideline and you tell him, hey, look, stay in the pocket. Or you tell him, hey, make one cut and go, and make sure you get there quick so we don't get called for a holding penalty.
Wow. It's a Joe Thomas saying Manziel scrambles. He is on his own. That is discouraging. Joe, I like the honesty to a certain degree. It's also kind of terrifying. And I'm sure for Johnny, he's going to hope that there's some sort of protection there for him. So for the Browns, another returning name could be, we thought it might have been last week, Dwayne Bowe, the most overhyped, overpaid receiver on this team in some time. $9 million. It has practiced to a certain degree all week off of that hamstring. Matt, I put it out on Twitter at AndyMC81 at Matt Fleur-Jansic for the Doghouse earlier this week. Is Dwayne Bowe the most overpaid, overhyped, and disappointing wide receiver on a Browns team since Andre Rison? Because that's the last great comparison I have. Andre Rison, Modell paid him how much money, almost bankrupted himself, and he came in and did squat.
From an overpaid standpoint, yeah, that's a fair comparison. I would say Andre Rison and Dwayne Bowe could be at that same level, because in my opinion, Bowe coming out and saying, well, I'm only focused on the number 1, as in that's the number of touchdowns, that I'm looking at right now. That's the only goal I have, is to get that first touchdown. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I would hope that you don't want to catch just one touchdown, but I understand what he's saying about, because it's been so long since he's been in the end zone, that he wants to get back to it. So looking at that, I didn't like hearing it, but I understand where he was coming from. As in terms of most disappointing, I would argue that it hasn't been. It's disappointing that he's not on the field, but it's not based on performance yet. I would say the most disappointing guy that I've come across is Josh Gordon, because he has all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
He showed it at a Pro Bowl level a couple of years ago, and then has gotten himself into so much trouble with the league that he's not even on the field. That's the most disappointing part, is he has all the skills in the world and all the talent and all the physical attributes and everything you need to be a Hall of Fame type wide receiver, and it's all below the shoulders. He hasn't quite figured it out yet above the shoulders. With Dwayne Bowe, it's just disappointing that the Browns put too much faith into him. If somebody threw a $9 million contract in front of my face and said, here you go, it's guaranteed, I'm signing the deal too.
Hell yeah.
It's not really his fault that they gave him the money. It's the front office's fault for placing undue value on a position of need and then going out and spending almost $10 million on a guy whose best days are more than likely behind him, and a guy who's coming off of a no-touchdown season, something that was a first in his 8 previous seasons with the Chiefs.
Well, let's hope he has summoned some sort of inner pride and balls out, because the Browns clearly need some sort of playmaker. Okay, you're listening to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. Andy McNamara alongside Matt Fleur-Jansic. Let's swing around the AFC North. We call it from the shotgun. And we'll begin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They host the San Francisco 49ers, and another former Brown in the conversation, former head coach and GM Eric Mangini at the defensive helm for the 49ers. Matt, that club has been such a gong show this offseason. People retiring, quitting. It's been so strange. For the Steelers, lost against the Patriots. I got to think that they're hungry in their home opener against the Niners. I'm picking Steelers all the way on this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, they do not take losing kindly in the Steel City, and most importantly, they do not take losing kindly in front of their home crowd lightly. And I think that the first day, they just ran into a really, really good team that had a point to prove. to Roger Goodell with regard to the Brady situation, and that was a buzzsaw that they were going to have to play an absolutely perfect game to overcome that type of emotion, and they didn't, and it cost them. And if they could get their special teams figured out, they don't lose that game, in my opinion. They win that game because they're playing for a field goal on the last drive, and they don't have to push it, chuck it downfield, multiple times. They can just dink and dunk you to death and then kick a field goal to win the game. I like the Steelers to win this game. I don't think that Eric Manzi, as a defensive coordinator, is going to have much success on getting the Ben Roethlisberger, and I think the Steelers are going to take care of their business against the Niners.
All right, so we both picked the Steelers. This is a pick 'em to me. San Diego Chargers into the jungle to face Cincinnati, the Bengals. And hey, we know Andy Dalton and company, anytime outside of January, they're great. Playoff time, different conversation. But for the San Diego Chargers, you always have a shot with Phil Rivers. This is real close. I'm going to say Chargers pull off a thin upset, maybe by a field goal or less, and we're going to be talking a bit of a shootout here. I think 30-plus points each in this one. So I'm going to say Chargers by a narrow margin.
I'll disagree with you. I'll take the Bengals. I think they have a few more playmakers, and I like their running game a lot better with Gio Bernard and Jeremy Hill toting the ball down the field. I think they're in a little bit better shape offensively. Phillip Rivers has always been a good quarterback, in my opinion, but, much like Andy Dalton, success has eluded him later in the season. I know it's only week 2, but I'd rather have A.J. Green catching my passes if I were a quarterback over anything that Phillip Rivers has in San Diego.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen's been playing better, but I agree. I'll take A.J. Green. All right, I think this is the last one in the AFC North in our From the Shotgun look around for Week 2 matchups. This has got to be pretty easy. Baltimore into Oakland, battling the Raiders. Derek Carr banged up, but don't think he'll be playing. Raiders stink, and I hope that they do not get any better when they get into town to play the Browns next week. I'm taking the Ravens. Is this even a conversation?
It pains me to say this because of my personal feelings toward the Raiders and the Ravens, but unfortunately I have to choose Baltimore because I don't think Oakland has enough horses in the barn to make this a ball game. And how weird is it that they started their season with 3 straight games against the AFC North division? That's kind of crazy to be outside of the division and then start 3 straight games against a non-divisional opponent, all from the same division. 2 of them coming at home, and then the cross-country trip to Cleveland next week.
Yeah, and you just hope they don't find their groove when they end up coming to Cleveland there. Okay, so that is...
Isn't that the cure-all for people finding their groove?
No, Matt.
To Cleveland?
Hashtag Browns good karma. Come on. No. We're
I'm just saying, it seems to happen more often than not these days.
We're going to focus on the positive this week that the Browns can maybe take down the Titans, and that brings us to our official prediction, Matt. Official prediction, Browns at Titans. I was closer to the point total the Browns got last week, but it was on the wrong end of the result. You got the result right. Okay, buddy, hit me. What's your prediction? Titans, Mariota versus Johnny, 2 former Heisman Trophy winners.
24-13 Titans. I don't think the offensive line or the secondary are going to make much improvement and show that they're elite-level units across the NFL. I think one might improve, but I think it's too much asking for them to set the edge, play better on the back end of the defense, block and run better. Too many holes for the Browns in the boat last week that they can't plug all of them, and they still end up sinking in the end of the day. It'll be closer, and they'll show some improvement on both sides of the ball, but it won't be enough to take down the Titans.
Matt, I've poured a fresh jug of Kool-Aid, and it tastes so good because this is what's going to happen, brother. This is what is going to happen. Terrence West, welcome back to Cleveland. Guess what? Fumbles, not once. He fumbles twice. They're going to contain Mariota. He's going to throw a couple. He's going to throw a couple touchdowns. I'll give him that. But there's going to be a couple of picks as well. In the end, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be dirty. But the Browns squeak out a 17-16 turnover-filled matchup and expose Mariota as a younger quarterback that still has a long way to go. So I'm thinking Browns 17-16.
Fair enough.
How do you like it? Come on.
We'll see who ends up on the right side of this one.
I hope you have to cheer for me on this one. Okay.
I know you respect my friendship and my professionalism, but you're hoping that I lose and I'm wrong.
Exactly. You know what? That's exactly right. But let's wrap up the show with the Barkov, where we get to your tweets from around the doghouse. And you can tweet us at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. The questions coming in as far as McCowan starting and Johnny. We have one from Logan Connie at LoCon1022. Says McCowan is the veteran who wants to succeed. The dude sacrifices himself for a TD in brackets almost, so he's got my full respect. Was actually hoping to not see Manziel at all this season. So that was before the Johnny announcement. After the Johnny announcement on Twitter, we have from at Mac Travel says, I like Johnny. He's hungry, has a lot to prove in his prime. Hashtag bring back the money sign. Gotta love that. And have a tweet agreeing as well, wanting to see Johnny from Kelly on Twitter. Says Manziel gives Browns best chance to win. Young Mobile wants to win. So a couple pro Johnnies, one pro McCowan.
That's about what I expect. I'd say 2-1 is Manziel to McCown in terms of favoritism, because they look at McCown and see a 36-year-old veteran who's not going to be the long-term answer, and yet you've got this 22-year-old former Heisman Trophy winner that you traded back up into the first round to draft, and people want to see what they have because they're ready to Merrill Hodge this situation and cut bait if Manziel can't do the job, and they're ready to move on to a Cardale Jones or what have you at the top of the draft. This is a franchise or a fan base rather that's starved for good quarterback play, and if they can't see it in Manziel this year, they want to go get another quarterback. The last thing that Browns fans really want is to go through another, okay, we're going to reboot and then go get a new quarterback and see if he can do it.
Yeah.
We just want to see if one guy can do it for an entire year and then go out and see what we need to do. The last thing, the worst thing possible would be for Manziel to sit this year, still not know what you have in him, and then let another group of quarterbacks go by
right,
and not take a single one of them, and then be further on down this process. So now what was a 2 to 3 year process is now entering years 4 and 5. You're still not any better offensively, and you're looking at new front office and new coaching staff.
Well, that's really where I'm at. You know what? See what you got in Johnny. Let's go, kid. This is your shot. You're a gamer. You're a big-time player. Let's see it. He's going to have his chance to do so. Matt, great show, buddy. Let's hope it's not a stinker like last Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of music you're playing on Monday's show.
Let's hope it is a victory Monday. That's Matt Florjancic, Browns Insider from WKYC Sports. I'm Andy McNamara. Tweet us at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. You've been listening to The Doghouse, your inside look to the Cleveland Browns.